City podcast.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Keys to the City. I am your host, Trevor Keys, alongside the big brother, Ted Keys. We will be joined with the return of also the Joseph Aguirre to talk the first half of the MLB season. Yes, we are right on the brink of the halfway point of the MLB season. It's crazy to already know that we're already halfway over, and still we have another 80-plus games to go, ladies and gentlemen. But yes, we will be talking about the biggest takeaways, disappointments, surprises, and hell, we might even give you our home run derby winner. Will we get a three-peat in the home run derby, Ted? We'll talk about that. But as you know, Ted, a couple weeks from now, we're going to be starting training camp. The boys of fall are returning. Yes, football is back soon, ladies and gentlemen. And we've been seeing everybody starts with their lists, their debates, the topics that they need to get going, because it's been a slow football season in the sense of for the past month or so, it's really a dead time in the NFL. But we're getting back to it, and might as well talk about the most important position in all of not just football, but Ted, maybe in all of sports, and that is the quarterback position. So ESPN came out with their top 10 list this past week. It got us thinking, well, why don't we give you our top 10 list? Because when you look at this list, there were some names that were surprising. One of the names, Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, the number one quarterback. I don't know, Ted. I don't know how I feel about it, but I know he's the back-to-back MVP, but I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest. So, Ted, let's get right into it. Do you want to start with your top 10, or do I want me to start with my top 10?
I always start first. Why don't we let you go first? It's better.
Are you sure?
Then I can argue with you and get the party going.
Okay, so here we go. This is my top 10 list for quarterbacks heading into the 2022-2023 season. Yes, I have Josh Allen number 1, Patrick Mahomes 2, Brady 3. Yes, Rodgers, the guy that was voted 1 by those scouts, 4. Joe Burrow. Ted, I was actually very tempted to put Joe Burrow as high as number 3 because I think he's 8. I mean, everything that he did last year, man, I don't need to see any more. He's delivered. He is the guy. And boy, Cincinnati has something special brewing. Plus, those white helmets next year, the all-white unis that they're going to wear, oh, my God. Those are the hottest jerseys I've ever seen. Those are just gorgeous, gorgeous jerseys. And I got Herbert.
They're better looking than the Giants ones? The Giants ones?
The all white are nasty, and that's going to be a nasty team to look up. But I got Herbert 6. Hold on. I got Herbert 6, Stafford to close out. Lamar, who's not in the top 10 of the ESPN's list, I was stunned by, and it's Lamar Jackson, very underappreciated in the NFL. Russell Wilson at 9, and then Derek Carr, my guy Derek Carr, who is also very underappreciated in the NFL as number 10. So, Ted, you look at this list, and you could take away, what's your biggest takeaway from this current list?
Josh Allen being number 1.
Oh, come on, man. Okay, I'll give you the reason.
I think here's the discussion. So ESPN does a survey and they ask, and I always wonder, like, what is the question they ask? Like, who just is the best? Who's the most talented? Because here's the thing, like, who is the guy you want in the fourth quarter in the biggest game with 2 minutes left in the game? Tom Brady then should be number 1. He's the GOAT, right? I mean, the guy did put up MVP type numbers last year. What do you have? Almost 5,000 yards passing. Like
he had over 5,000 yards and 43 touchdowns.
I would say last year's season was almost better than the one he had in the Patriots. I mean, you maybe the numbers, but with the pressure, I just think Tom Brady is exceptional, right? And there is really no wrong answer. All 4 of the top 4 guys could have a legit argument to be number 1. All right, we know that. Josh Allen might be the most talented guy on your list.
So that's why I wanted this. That's why the reason why I say Josh Allen. What I would say is
Patrick Mahomes is the most stylish guy. I think he has that Jordan-esque feel where like he can do no wrong, right? It just feels.
We'll see We'll see this year.
Exactly. Then there's Tom Brady, who's the GOAT, and then you have the defending MVP champion and Aaron Rodgers.
Don't forget back to back.
Well, yeah, back to back.
He's won twice, 2 MVPs in a row.
I forget that because it's lost in the shuffle that he hasn't been to the Super Bowl since that one time he was in the Super Bowl. And all we ever talk about with Aaron Rodgers is it always feels like there's drama with Aaron Rodgers, which that should have nothing to do with what he is as a football player, because there might be no better quarterback in the league than Aaron Rodgers. He throws like the prettiest ball. He doesn't throw picks. That's something that you ask your quarterback all the time. he's exceptional in the regular season. He just himself has not been exceptional
and
in
that's
the playoffs, and it's a reflection. Even though his team doesn't win, as we know, Trev, if your team loses, it's a reflection on the quarterback.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, Josh Allen, to me, the reason I put Josh Allen, if you can create, and when I think of this, you know the movie Weird Science. So
Oh, yeah.
you try to they create the perfect woman. I don't know if it's an 80s movie, Michael Anthony Hall, a classic movie. If you haven't seen it, it's a very, very funny movie. But they create the perfect woman. To me, Josh Allen is literally the definition of a perfect quarterback in the sense of he's got the strong arm. I mean, he's got probably the strongest arm in all the NFL. He's also got the leadership. He's grown on me, and I think he's grown on this team as the leadership grown for Josh Allen. He had questions coming into the draft with that. Also, he's got the ability to extend plays. He's a big like running back. You could see it. He's so athletic that everything he does. And my biggest thing also with Josh Allen is that he continuously has improved from where he started to where he is now. Now, when he first started, he struggled out the gate. But yes, with a couple pieces added to that team, he's become the guy. And yes, he went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes, ladies and gentlemen. He was 13 seconds away from that Super Bowl or no AFC title game. 13 seconds away. Josh Allen is not getting no blame for that divisional matchup against the Chiefs. He went toe-to-toe with the guy that's been, well, pretty much running the AFC since he's come into the AFC, actually, and that's Patrick Mahomes. I don't blame him. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, you could get a toss-up. But for me, I think Josh Allen's going to be the MVP this year, and I think he's going to the Super Bowl. The Buffalo Bills, I'm sorry. I know we haven't done our preview show for the NFL, but the Buffalo Bills, to me, this is it. They got to get to the Super Bowl, and Josh Allen is going to. This team is motivated as ever, and Josh Allen, that's why I picked him number one. And I know everybody's like, oh, well, Rodgers is amazing. Yes, Rodgers may go down as one of the greatest regular season quarterbacks of all time. May go down as the greatest regular season quarterback of all time. Maybe go down as one of the most talented quarterbacks of all time. You know who also was more talented than Tom Brady, and everybody wants to go after Brady and Rodgers in this debate, which is, I don't get the debate at all because it's not really a freaking debate. It's just not. It's also like Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was more talented than Brady. Still taking Brady. Aaron Rodgers is more talented than Brady. I get that. I'm not disagreeing with that. But you're taking Brady 7 times of the week and twice on Sunday. Definitely twice on Sunday. But like I also said with Joe Burrow, I was very tempted to put him at number 3. I think everything that we saw last year, coming back from the ACL injury, an injury that we all thought maybe he'll never be the same again. Getting sacked 51 times last year, including that epic divisional matchup, getting sacked 8 times by the Tennessee Titans, still finding a way to win. The man has just won when he's given the chance. One at LSU, one in Cincinnati. I mean, you think about Cincinnati, bro. Cincinnati has been pretty much a losing franchise since the beginning of time, since they come into the NFL.
Well,
they have a guy that is leading the charge, is changing the way we look at the Cincinnati Bengals in the future. And I'll take him over I'll take him over Justin Herbert. And I know Matthew Stafford, who just won the Super Bowl, over Joe Burrow. But if you give Joe Burrow an offensive line, which he does now, I'm telling you, Joe Burrow can ascend almost as high as number maybe 1 or 2. I know it's crazy.
Yeah,
I think you
have to be realistic. I was going back and I was looking at Sander, and he's like, how do you have Derek Carr over Dak? And I'm like, you got to. For me personally, this is
because Derek Carr. I'll take Derek Carr any day over Dak. Well, I'm sorry. I think Dak is.
I would probably take Dak too. But here's the thing: imagine Dak having to deal with, I don't know, no receivers, dysfunctional team, head coach gets fired, organizational troubles. They move from Oakland to Vegas. I don't know, one of his first-round draft picks has a DUI and kills someone. And all in the middle of the season with everything that's going on, no offense line. I mean, here's the thing. Dak has one of the best running backs in the league, had 3-star receivers, had one of the best offensive lines and thing, has an owner that –
Oh, not to mention they had one of the top defenses in the league last year too.
Yeah. So listen, Dak is no slouch. Okay,
There's no excuses.
Listen, Dak's right there. We always argue with the Dak thing because if you're a Cowboy fan, you feel like all we do is pick on him, and if you're not a Dallas fan, everyone feels they are picking on him. Listen, Dak is where he's fairly rated. He's anywhere from 8,
That's
9,
That's the
10.
perfect explanation, Steve. Dak is good. He ain't great, and he ain't special. It was
Now,
like this, and I always say this. Hold on, and I'm gonna get to your list
and
actually right
I
now
want to
too.
say one other thing though before you get on to it. I do have a little argument with putting the guy at number 8 over 9 and 10. I think, especially if you're going to, listen, talent wise, you might want to put him at 1 or 2. All right, but he's another one where like we're not just talking about talent here. He's an exceptional. Because here's the thing: how many guys on this list have an MVP? Now I know that doesn't mean anything, but it means something.
Yeah,
Earl doesn't,
other
Herbert
than
doesn't,
Brady,
Stafford doesn't,
Rodgers.
Wilson doesn't, Derek Carr, Dak, Lamar does. Had one of the best seasons ever.
Yep.
Okay, but he had a poor year last year. He did not play well. I think he should be closer to 10 than 8. But hey, listen, that's your perspective. Here's my thing, and we talked about this before, and I'll let you go. Was if you had a game and you wanted as quarterback, you picking Dak or you taking Lamar? You taking Kyler or you taking Lamar? I'm probably taking Lamar.
I never said Carr is special. I just think I believe Derek Carr is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott.
He's not.
Derek Carr isn't as. There's not many. Here's the thing. There's not many special quarterbacks in the current NFL right now.
Guys.
That's the thing. It's like the NBA. There's not many elite players in the NBA. There's about 4 or 5 players that are unbelievable talents and
well, then let's get to my
talent. That's what I'm trying to say. The other reason why I want to say quickly is with Lamar. They were 8-3 before he got injured. They were the number 1 seed. I know they missed the playoffs, but he went down, and the rest was history. I'm just going to say that. I think that, yes, they don't get a lot of receivers, and we'll see how they pan out this year. But I think that Lamar Jackson has to get the credit, well-deserving. And also, if Dak's getting paid the money that he is getting paid, then I expect him to win a Super Bowl, not get eliminated in the first round. I'm sorry, okay? I think last year was said it all. That was a team talented enough to win the Super Bowl, and they figured out, hey, let's just be the Dallas Cowboys again, and let's choke in the playoffs. So, Ted, we'll get to your top 10 list.
There's a lot of teams. Now, what's your pimple on my list?
Pimple. That's what he says. The pimple. I mean, we all have the same guys in there. I was surprised that you had Derek Carr in there, and I told you that in the beginning.
Right before we went on the show, I thought after watching the Raiders last year and seeing him perform and everything. And here's the thing. I took in the culmination of last year of everything that he went through. Mm-hmm. Everything from the beginning of the season to losing players to the head coach. I mean, and they went through that stretch where it was 3 or 4. I mean, the game I was at was the last game the Giants won. It was against the Raiders. So, and you're like, well, he wasn't good enough to beat the Giants. Listen, they were going through so much crap the week it just happened. For him to fight through, I mean, he beat Herbert. They went in. I mean, listen, you could blame the Chargers coach for screwing that up, but hey, it's part of the team. They won. And if it wasn't for the stellar play of Joe Burrow in the playoffs, they would have been on to the second round, all right? And we'd never be talking about the Bengals in the Super Bowl. I think Derek Carr, we'll finally see a real Derek Carr this year. I mean, because you look at the talent that's around him, Renfro, Waller, Adams, their offensive line should be better. The coaching should be better with Josh McDaniels. I still love Mahomes. There's something that I was talking about. He's got that Jordan-ass thing. There's something about Patrick Mahomes. I couldn't put Allen over Brady and Mahomes because it's got to get me to the Super Bowl. Okay, he's been great. Every year he's improved. I know Steve wrote on one of the comments, he likes the Bills. I don't – everyone loves the Bills going to the Super Bowl. And you know what? The Bills ain't going to the Super Bowl probably again. Everyone's going to get their high hopes because you know what happens when teams you expect to go to the Super Bowl? They don't go to the Super Bowl. That's what happens. It's always a team you don't expect to go to the Super Bowl. But, I mean, I had the same 10 guys. What would you say that you would pick on this list? I guess I could put Stafford over Wilson.
I know people love Russell Wilson and a big believer in Russ cooking. But to me, last year I know he had the hand injury. Didn't have a great year. And this is a guy that's still Seattle. They were very similar to just like in Aaron Rodgers, just could never get over the hump. Like they had the talent.
Yeah, but don't you account for who he's playing for, the organization, the coach, or a run first team defense? They let Russ cook because they have nothing else. They had an awful offensive line.
And here's my rebuttal. If you're an elite quarterback and you're that good, that's my thing. Is that I'm going to go? Hold on. Wait. I'm going to say. I'm going to compare every quarterback that people want to make excuses to Joe Burrow last year. That's it. To me, that's what elite quarterback does. overcomes adversity like that, overcomes having a lackluster offensive line, and still delivering for a team that just came off a 4-win season from him coming off a torn ACL and dealing with that to not knowing that, hey, when is Joe Burrow going to still ever be elite? Well, that man silenced the doubters really quickly by being this close. If he has a little more protection back in February, we could be talking about Joe Burrow, not Matthew Stafford, as the Super Bowl champion quarterback. Okay? I'm done with people saying, well, all this, why isn't Dak or Derek Carr or why are these guys not? That's an elite quarterback, is Joe Burrow. That's a special talent. That's why I'll take him, and I'm glad we both put him over Herbert, because I'm very, very high on Joe Burrow this year. I expect him as high to maybe be the best quarterback coming into next season. I know it's crazy because you still got Mahomes, you still got Rodgers, you still got Josh Allen. I'm going with Joe Burrow that's a guy that I say is special. Now, okay, I'm not saying guys like Derek Carr. I love Derek Carr, but Joe Burrow to me is special.
You know what's funny? I'm thinking about devil's advocate, even though I still would argue he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Is the guy we both had at number 6?
Well, hey, guess what? He's got a lot of pressure coming into
because
this year.
Herbert-wise, talent-wise, is exceptional. I know when we had Joe on the first year, Joe, we used to argue, and he's like, well, he's got to win me games, right? And he's putting up great numbers, and we always get into that argument, I know we're going to talk about baseball, and you got guys like Ohtani who are they might be the best player in the league. I mean, literally his ERA has been exceptional the last month and a half. All he does is hit, pitch, great, but his team stinks. And it's like, is it a reflection of him or is it a reflection of the team?
Well, now, Herbert last year
was one of the best quarterbacks in the league last year. We know his talent. He is, you could put him up with Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes as the 3 most talented guys in the league. If I was looking at talent, Herbert, Mahomes, and Josh Allen are the 3 most talented guys in the league. Everything you want. Size, athleticism, strength, accuracy, arm strength, smarts. They all just got the look. That would be my weird science model quarterback if you were trying to draw up a quarterback. And then, and then everyone else. But you know what? What we want as fans is show me the money. We want guys that win games. Don't tell me a guy that puts up 5,000 yards and can't win a playoff game when your talent is surrounded. Show me what you can overcome when you don't have the talent surrounded. But as we'll get on to more football talk later, is who's going to win that AFC West? What quarterback's going to show off? And can the Bills really get to a Super Bowl?
I mean, we'll be talking about that eventually down the road. We're going to be having more lists like that, be talking about pressure players, and why I believe also guys like Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes should be in that list. I know I say Patrick Mahomes. I'll dive into that when we get closer to those situations. But we also said we haven't been back in a few weeks, and also we have a very special guest, the return of the Joseph Aguirre. Hasn't been a while. We came back to return, and Joseph is back looking beautiful with his hair, his beard, and he's got the nice maroon shirt. But yes,
Joe, these are the new shirts.
We got new.
I love it.
Yeah, I like the material. It is nice.
That's the blue one, Trev. Do you have the black one with you?
Yeah, it's in. I put it away. I'm not. You want me to change right now, live on TV?
I mean,
I'll change.
I think you should do it.
You want me to change right now and go? I will. I'll show him at the end of the show. He's still going to be around at the end of the show. We'll talk. But we're here to talk the halfway point, guys. We're at the halfway point of the MLB season. And this season has been fascinating for many things. Well, specifically for Yankee fans. It's been great, but they've been on a slide. I want to ask Joe, because we haven't had him on. Joe, to you, what's been your biggest takeaways from the first half of the MLB season, honestly?
Well, I'll give you a couple. Obviously,
Beautiful.
the Yankees are great. Mm-hmm. We know this. The historic start that they're off to. The other big thing I think from the American League is that Houston is exceptionally good too. That's a really good baseball team.
Mm-hmm.
There are
the idea that the Yankees and Houston are so good speaks to why Toronto just fired their manager, because if the Yankees weren't playing like they were, that wouldn't have happened. And it's funny, Teddy, I'm pretty sure it was you, and I've had about 4 or 5 people show me the Don LaGreca meltdown about Joey Gallo. And for anybody who, I mean, come on.
Joe, he's awful.
How much better do you think this team could possibly be right now? Let's say anybody else in baseball was the left fielder. Do you think the Yankees would be undefeated? I mean, come on.
If
Like,
Brett Gardner was our left fielder.
Right? Would they? Because the Yankees, when Gallo's in the lineup, have a 700 winning percentage.
Oh, it's not because
record,
it's not Joe. It's not because of him.
No.
No,
Listen,
I know.
I got to argue with somebody earlier today about that. I'm like, they have a 700 winning percentage when he's in. It's like 660 when he's out, and they're like, no thanks to him. I didn't say it was.
Yeah,
I'm just pointing out, right? Again, when you talk about what a detriment this guy's been to the lineup, it's not that bad.
I always feel bad for him because it's just, he's a good player. Listen, he has to be. That's why he's in the major leagues. All right. But we also understand he was never a 290 hitter. He was always about a 200 hitter.
Yeah.
But
it's the 168 we won't stand for.
He was a really good fielder, Gold Glove caliber. He's an underrated stat when he gets on base 1 out of every 10 times is he's actually a really good base runner. He knows how to go first and third. He could actually steal bases, but he just never gets on base to really show off, his ability to run the bases. It is funny to think about that. The Yankees are as good as he has been, and you can add Hicks to that too. That if we had a somewhat of a competent center fielder for a hitter and a left fielder, I mean, if Miguel Andujar played left field all year, I mean, who knows how much better this offense, because all he did was hit when he was up there. So that's the one negative of the Yankees. But go on, Joe. I know you were still taking it away.
Listen, the Mets might be for real. This might be a good enough Mets team. Obviously, you're gonna have DeGrom back, Scherzer's back. He looked great the other night.
Joe, that might be my biggest takeaway for you is you hearing the Mets. I can't believe you just said the Mets.
Yeah, listen, the more I look at the Mets lineup, the more I think to myself, yeah, they've got some really good hitters. I mean, and listen, Pete Alonso, like Aaron Judge, is one of the top 5 hitters in baseball.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, if you take the 3 of those guys, Trout, Alonso, and Judge, and you put their numbers together right now, you would take Trout 3rd in that group. Those guys have them in hits, runs, homers, RBI, just all around production. And Aaron Judge has more steals this year than Trout does. It's just that kind of season. Would never count out the Dodgers, but it seems like every week there's some other big factor and some other loss that the Dodgers are suffering. And, for a team that spent most of last year 2nd in their division and yet number 1 on ESPN's power rankings, the Dodgers have to, much like I think you referenced me when you were talking about Lamar Jackson at the beginning of the show, Teddy. You got to start winning some more championships if you're the Dodgers. We got to stop looking at the Dodgers roster and being like, it's the most talented. Well, what is that really getting them?
It probably is, but it's accumulated.
It probably is, but at some point, though, right? I mean, we're talking about a dozen years that the Dodgers have probably from a payroll standpoint been number 1. From a talent standpoint, I would say, honestly, in the last 10 years, they've been one of the 3 most talented teams in baseball. And there's 1 title to show for it.
You want to know what's something funnier about that? The Kansas City Royals have just as many titles as the LA Dodgers in that time frame.
There you go. By the way, my last big surprise of this first half is how good Baltimore is.
I was gonna, yes.
And bro,
I'm in the Baltimore Orioles right now, man. Come on.
This is one of those things where when a team rebuilds and they let the kids come up and lose 110 games a year, after 3 or 4 years, you know what you turn into? The Minnesota Twins.
No, you turn into the Houston Astros. Remember how bad the Astros were? You remember they were losing like 14 games?
This was literally the Twins formula. Where think about back in the day with Christian Guzman and Torrey Hunter and Jock Jones and David Ortiz and Minkiewicz. They brought the kids up. They let them play. Slowly, everybody went away. And then what happened? they did it again with Mauer and Morneau
Yep.
and some of those other young guys. That's the formula when you're a small market team, and that's what Baltimore is. They've been running these guys out there. They haven't gone out and spent a ton of money on free agents. Not that anybody would necessarily want to go there, but Baltimore's primed at this point, really, where next off season, you add a starter, maybe you add another big bat, and you're talking about a team that could be very competitive.
Their bullpen is top 10 in the league. I think even top 5. Their bullpen's been stellar. They're getting clutch hits. The Mariners are being. Hey, listen, the takeaway is that the AL East is stacked. That every team's above 500. Dave Roberts, be quiet. The NL West is not the best division in baseball.
Yeah, Dave Roberts, just shut up, Dave Roberts. Just shut up.
Here's the other thing. My takeaway.
I never liked Dave Roberts since he stole Mo, and they changed the whole 04 ALCS. That son of a gun. I never liked him.
So my biggest takeaways was I told you the Yankees were going to win the division. All right. I told you that, and you didn't believe me.
Me and Joe had to be. We had to be opposite. Hold on. The reason we did that is because every time we all do pick the Yankees, they lose. So we just wanted to be.
Here's the one takeaway I would say to that part is the caveat is I would say that I did not expect the Yankees to have a 14-game lead on July 15th. Okay, that's incredible.
Who did?
No one did. But I would say this is my takeaways of negative would be the White Sox and the Blue Jays, because we thought the White Sox were going to run away with the Central. The Guardians have a better record than them, and they were supposed to be tanking. All right.
Why is Tony La Russa getting fired? When does he get fired?
Yeah, if Charlie Montoyo's out of a job, there's no reason why Tony La Russa should still be employed. Again, Joe Madden, Joe Girardi, legit managers whose teams didn't live up to expectations are getting fired. Dude, this guy ruins your Mercedes' career, has them spinning their tires, and how is he still working?
So,
I don't get that.
You look at that division, the White Sox, huge disappointment. And then the Blue Jays, because all you read about was the Blue Jays are going to go to the World Series. It's going to be the Blue Jays and Dodgers, Blue Jays, Dodgers, or Blue Jays and the Braves, right? I would say the takeaways of negatives would be those two teams. The NL, I'm not surprised. The Braves are exactly where they should be. They're a team that starts off slow, just like they did last year, get hot. The Mets are a nice story. I like the Mets. I thought once they got a couple pieces, a second year with Lindor, you get Scherzer. Surprising that, no DeGrom. They played as well. They've been consistent. The Dodgers are who they are. I mean, here's the thing. The way I look at it as takeaways, there's 5 teams that are going to win the World Series. There's 2 in the AL. It's either the Yankees or Houston, and it's the Dodgers, the Braves, or the Mets are the 5 teams I think are the only teams that have a realistic chance of winning the World Series this year. So all this extra wild cards ain't going to make a difference, because at the end of the day, those 5 teams are going to probably be the World Series winner, and it's going to be whoever makes a move at the trade deadline that's going to help the team.
Yeah. Ted, you also said another negative you should put in are the San Francisco Giants. Joe made a good point. The Dodgers last year finished second place, if we all remember.
Yeah,
they had over 100, and they had 103 wins or something like that. The Giants had 105 wins or 106.
Yeah, and then they're only 2 games over.
They're only 2 games over 500 right now. So that's a disappointment from the NL. I'd agree with you 100%. The White Sox, I thought that team would be one of the World Series favorites going into this year, and they've been a huge disappointment. Tony La Russa should be fired. I don't even understand why they ever hired him. There's a difference between with the Mets and Buck Showalter and then Tony La Russa, who's just I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan of Tony La Russa. Good manager back in the day, but there's a difference, and the White Sox have been a huge disappointment. It's just hilarious that you look at the Yankees. They've lost 4 of the last 5 games, and they're still up 13 games to the next in the Tampa Bay Rays. My also biggest thing, and we talked about it, Ted, I don't like that Houston's that good, because Houston's like a move away, like a pitcher away, maybe a bullpen guy from, I believe, maybe representing the AL in the World Series. They're that talented again, guys, and we know. If there's anything we know, is that the New York Yankees kryptonite currently are still the Houston Astros, and maybe the Tampa Bay Rays.
Well,
I also
the only team that matches up pound for pound with the Yankees, and to me, they're a bat away.
I think they can use a pitcher.
Hold on, Trev. The only thing, and I was going to say this, and it's not, and Rizzer actually does make a good point on this. Is it's not the Mariners, it's the Red Sox.
I said that
too. Because here's the thing: all their pitchers are on the IL. Sale, Evaldi. They are like the Yankees a couple years ago where they have like 17 guys on the IL. So if they can somehow get that pitching staff fixed and put together, I mean, you get Sale and Evaldi and a bunch of the other guys, you know that lineup and you know that team is like a big wart on the Yankees' rear end. And like the Yankees should have swept the Red Sox, and the Red Sox just find a way to be a pain in the rear end.
The Red Sox are 11-24 against the American League East this year. I mean, they've taken an absolute beating inside this division so far this year.
Which is incredible because they actually are a good team. They have, and I think that speaks to the Orioles being as good as they are because not everyone's going 17-2 against the Orioles anymore. The Orioles are actually giving competition to the whole entire league. The
Red Sox are 19-7 against the American League West.
Nice. Well,
they're beating up on the Central. Yeah.
And the Angels.
Dude, this division really, I mean, it's the class of baseball right now. And, people are noticing Baltimore because, of their surge, but they've been pretty good all year. I mean, they're one of the few teams this year that's actually played the Yankees pretty well. Mm-hmm. And we know they've done that over the last couple of years, but now they're doing it with everybody.
I'm going to give a name that could be the difference maker going forward. His name is Luis Castillo. And I think he's going to finally get traded from the Reds. And those teams that we just talked about, the Yankees, the Red Sox possibly, the Mets always can use, the Mets don't care. The Dodgers don't care. The Astros. I think Luis Castillo could be that Zach Greinke addition in the sense a couple years ago when the Yankees were in on him, but then the Astros came out of nowhere and made the huge trade. And they ultimately, I believe, won the World Series that year with it. But you look at that pitcher, that type of guy, Luis Castillo, he just pitched last night against the Yankees. Doesn't have a great record, but he's got a great ERA, and he's on a terrible team. That guy has been a lights-out pitcher. I know his stats don't speak for it, like wins-wise, it doesn't speak for it, but that is a guy that you trade for him. Yeah, you're going to trade prospects, but you know what you're getting with him. You're getting a solid number 2, maybe could be a number 1. That's how good he is on those type of days. But Luis Castillo is the type of guy that I hope the Yankees can try to go trade for. I'm really hoping because this Severino thing, a little bit I don't want to see Severino being, that's nerve-wracking to see him go out and throw a pitch. And I think it's nerve-wracking to see the Yankees dealing with some injuries right now and this little cold streak heading into the All-Star break, which maybe they can use a cold streak right now and get it over with. But that's a name that you got to keep an eye on, Luis Castillo, who is going to be going to a contender. I can only hope because he's well deserving of being acknowledged as a solid pitcher in this game. He just is on a bad franchise right now. And that's a name that's going to be moving forward. I know everybody's been obsessed with the Ohtani show and now he's now the favorite to win the MVP, which is going to be great because Joe, we know how this is going to be. It's going to be another Angel that's going to be on a team that's going to be 20 games under 500. They're going to be garbage. They'll be 4th in the rankings.
Yeah, but
I know his numbers. I know his numbers are amazing. I know that.
Player.
Ted, when the MVP, okay, the NBA MVP, who just won the NBA MVP?
Well, I get it. The NBA actually takes
the NFL MVP.
Guys, hold on. Oh, no, I get it. They knock guys who don't have a playoff or a winning record. Like you could be like, I'll give me a perfect example. Say like, somebody didn't make the playoffs. So Julius Randle, right, had the best season of the year, but the Knicks don't make the playoffs. Guess what? He's still going to finish 3rd or 4th in the MVP voting because in the NBA, winning matters. You can't have the best player on one of the worst teams in the league. I don't know if that's where you were going with it.
No, I was going to just say the MLB.
But I can't blame the guy when his ERA is 0.45 in the last month. He's striking out 12 guys every at bat, and then he's still hitting for average and power. Like,
well, don't say he hits for average because that's false. He's like a 240 hitter, so
and
he's
also
not. He shouldn't even be the starting. Dude, but Yordan Alvarez is hitting 300 and putting up the same power numbers as a DH. That's who should be starting at I mean, again, dude,
Joe, you know they're going to knock him because he doesn't play the field.
I get it, and listen, obviously Ohtani's the best DH ever because he's also won you 9 games. He's done a great job on the mound. this season so far that he's having, I think it's better than the last year that he had. I'm more convinced this year than I was last year, but if there's a knock on Ohtani, it's that he's not a great hitter. And nor is he a very clutch hitter. He might, much like Mike Trout, doesn't come big in the close and late situations. Go to baseballreference.com if you don't believe me. These guys don't come up big after the 7th inning.
My thing,
which again is why you'll see it in the 3rd inning, where Mike Trout's got a couple of homers and Ohtani's done something no one's done since 1927, and they lose anyway.
Yeah, did you see that thing?
Yeah.
That meme where they're like,
that meme is hilarious.
2 home runs, 6 RBIs, and they lose 8-6.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. The NBA this year was Jokic. It could have been Embiid. Went to the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers won the MVP back-to-back years. How is it baseball? Why is baseball the only freaking sport that's still living to me in the 1920s with everything they do? It's not voting. It's not the all-star things, all this. It's just the game of baseball is literally, Joe, behind the times. Look at the NFL. They keep moving. They keep advancing in the games. The NBA, they're becoming more advanced for fans to become intrigued by. Baseball is just so behind in the times that this is just another perfect example. Like Shohei Ohtani, if he wins the MVP this year, it's just going to be comical.
Well,
like Aaron Judge can hit for 70.
The award then.
Aaron Judge should win.
Player,
Yeah, the award should be the award should be then everybody except New York Yankees. Because that's what these awards have become.
It should be the most outstanding player instead of MVP, because if you want to talk about MVP, then you got to go through every team and every player and what player has the most impact on his team when he plays.
But is that true? Is it the most valuable player to your team or the most valuable player in the league?
Well, to the team, I think it's a team. Because your impact on the team, because
Aaron Judge should be the front runner.
When Aaron Judge is in the lineup, there are 700. When he's not in the lineup, there are 500. So he accrues 10 to 15 more wins. So he makes the Yankee a playoff team or not a playoff team when Judge is in the lineup. If Ohtani's out, are the Angels a playoff team or not a playoff team? That's what that would be and that's an MVP because he values the team to make them a playoff team.
I'll answer that for you.
Maybe the award should be the MW. The most WAR player. Yeah. Maybe I'm not even joking. Maybe we need a formula to actually figure out, because I think 2 years ago the argument of DJ LeMahieu hitting like 350, winning a batting title. It was hitting like 450 with runners in scoring position at $9 million a year. Who could have been more and won a Gold Glove? Who's more valuable than that?
And when
that's not the epitome of literally value, cash value.
Yeah. When he finally went to the leadoff spot, his value into the Yankee lineup set the rest of the tone for the team. Especially because then Judge was 2, and then bang, 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 and it's like, all right, it wasn't Gardner at leadoff. It wasn't an easy out. But I don't mean it like that, but I mean it in the sense that, like, the way DJ was playing that year, he set the tone, Trev. You said it when we were talking about he was the tone setter. He set everything else up for the lineup. And when your leadoff guy gets on base, it just makes that lineup much more dangerous, especially when the Yankees have the players behind him as they do. That's why I would say, like Altuve for Houston, his opponents when he used to lead off, considering the bats that were behind with Bregman and Correa and who's the one in Springer. I'm sorry, thank you. And then now, like he sets a tone, and then those guys just pile in runs. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like Magic Johnson. He brings the ball up and, hey, get to your spot, bang, give you the pass, you at the 3. I did all the work. Now you just
I get it, guys. That Ohtani is a special talent. I get that. But he's not the most valuable player in baseball. In the AL. He's not. Because of the
I would say Judge and Alonso are the number one for both.
You can't tell me, Sid, hold on. You can't sit here and tell me a team that's 12 games under 500 currently right now ranked 4th place in their division. You're going to tell me that the MVP is on that team when the team that's been the best team in all of baseball right now, led by the best player in baseball in the first half right now, who's delivered for the New York Yankees with walk-offs and everything he brings for these Yankees. You mean to tell me that that's the MVP? And that's why baseball is just, I just don't understand their process of thinking with all this voting, because Shohei Ohtani, yes, he's an amazing. He'll finish probably top 3 in MVP. If I was a voter, Aaron Judge is my MVP right now. Now, everything could change in the next 80 games. But right now, Aaron Judge, to me, is the MVP of the AL, and it shouldn't even be a debate, guys.
All right, so here I'm going to break this down, and for I know Sanders, I think flipping out about this, so I'm going to because
He's
he
30.
thinks,
They're 39 and 51. Sander.
ready. So Sanders
Here's
thinks
a better guy, Jose
Hold on.
Ramirez, Joe.
Sander thinks that Floyd Mayweather's the best boxer because he makes the most money.
Oh, he's a young.
So-
he's a youngin then.
Right, I'm going to do this purely from a financial standpoint. For $5.5 million this season, Shohei Ohtani's hitting what, 240, 26 homers, 67, whatever it is, 9 wins at the plate, 100 some odd strikeouts, all that for a third of what the Yankees are paying Aaron Judge right now. A third of that for not only almost the exact same production, but 9 wins on the mound and
you wanna know
13
Ohtani's
quality
numbers?
starts. So, again, if you're talking about from a value standpoint, what Shohei Ohtani does, and I don't even like the guy, believe me, I find this whole thing annoying. I want them to ban him like they're doing the shift.
Joe, do you want to know Ohtani's? Joe, you want to know Ohtani's numbers? I got him right here. Your spot, Baseball Reference. Just as a hitter, he's got 19 home runs. He's batting .258 with 51 runs, 56 RBIs, and 10 stolen bases. Okay. Now that's just his
good numbers.
That's his batting. Pretty good numbers. Now, when you add in the pitching, he's 9-4 as a pitcher with a 2.38 ERA, and he's got what? I don't know how many strikeouts. Probably a lot.
I'm not saying that he's a bad.
He's got 123 strikeouts.
We're not saying that.
no,
But for
I
people to
understand.
say
Now,
that
listen,
he's the
sure,
MVP
look,
right now is ridiculous.
It's because of the dual role. It's because he
course.
does both of those things, and then
And
not
he's
only does he
stellar.
do them, he does them both really, really well.
And there's no offense, but there's no one in the league like him. So it's hard when you talk MVP to compare. Like you said, Alvarez, right? Houston has a realistic shot of being MVP, but he only plays DH. He doesn't play the field. Then you got Judge, right? So you got 3 different prospects there. Then you got Judge, who right now I think he's the Gold Glove in right field. I don't know. You want to put him in right or center, whatever, it doesn't matter. And he's the best hitter in baseball right now. And then you got Ohtani, who's hits really well. He's a really good hitter. He's got power numbers, but then he's one of the best pitchers in baseball too. So how do you and then you look at 2 teams are in first place in the division, and the 2 best teams in the NL, and the guy is 12 games under 500. My thing is this: the NL, it's Alonso. It's pretty easy. I mean, he's been stellar in the Mets. He's the reason why the Mets are the best team in the NL. Here's an argument: Jose Ramirez has unbelievable numbers, and you could say his value to the Guardians, who a team was supposed to be picked 5th in their division, is what, 1st or 2nd?
That would be more. That would be a guy that's more deserving than a guy that's on a team that's 12 games under 500.
And Joe, I will say this too. I said this to Trev last night. Open-ended question out loud. He becomes a free agent in 2023. Ohtani. Does he become the first $500 million player in baseball? Because if he hits the open market, someone might pay him.
Hey,
Sure, and remember, I mean, the Angels signed him to a really
friendly deal,
favorable contract for them. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Again, not that anybody could have predicted he was going to be as good as he is at both of these things, or be able to pull it off, because I, for one, didn't. I remember when he was coming to the Angels, thinking, because the Yankees obviously had been in the conversation, and I thought, I want a guy that focuses on one thing. That's too much. He's going to pitch, and is he mean wiffle ball? Nobody's that talented. You know what I mean? It's just not going to work out, and it has been great. But listen, if Aaron Judge continues to play and hit like he does, and he doesn't get injured, and he hits around 60 home runs, 54, 55, whatever it's going to. Listen, he's at 31 at the break. It's going to be. He would have to suck.
Yeah,
or be hurt to not hit 50 home runs this year. 50s to me, the minimum number he hits this year. Whether he can have a big September and get close to whatever, I don't even give a crap whether that happens or not. Straight up, he's the guy to beat right now.
Yeah,
all the hype that goes around Aaron Judge. If this team continues to play 650, 700 baseball the rest of the way, and Here's the other thing I will point out, though. He was hitting 308 at the beginning of June, and he's down to 278.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Aaron
really
Judge
struggled the
is.
last month.
He's been on a cold streak.
Yeah. His batting average could definitely be something that hurts him in the long run against, especially somebody like Alvarez, who, is hitting
He's got
about
to
20
get closer
points
to
higher.
300 again, Joe.
He's got to be hovering around 300 because if you're hitting around 350 homers, 130, 140 RBI. I'm sorry.
How does he not get the MVP?
Nobody's not even Jose
And if they get the
Altuve
best
and some
record in
trash
baseball, they win
cans
110
will
games.
be able to get the MVP out of his cold dead hands at that point.
Well, he's fourth.
Because I tell you, if he has, Trevor, I'll let you finish it off on this. If he has the numbers you just spoke about, Joe, say he bats 290, he's got 54 home runs, and he gets like 121 RBIs, right? And the Yankees win 110 games. They're the number 1 seed in the AL. How does say Ohtani wins a Trev? It's not even Alvarez, it's Ohtani. And they're like 78 and whatever, 90. Who cares? I don't know. I know the numbers don't equal the 162. That would be the biggest. I mean, you want to talk the Altuve Judge thing? This would be worse. That would be worse for a team that not even make the playoffs and a guy who's the number 1 seed, the best. I mean, what are you going to give him? Like the most outstanding player, the Slugger Award?
In 1987, I remember when the Hawk, Andre Dawson, won the National League MVP, and he had 48 home runs that year. He hit like 312. It was a season where the players on the top teams, like there was just no other standout player.
Mm-hmm.
And as you looked across the board at the National League leaders in 87, it was like Andre Dawson's name was all over the place. He stole a lot of bases. He was a great outfielder.
Mm-hmm.
That made sense. It was one of those things where it's like, well, you know what? We're going to reward this guy. I know the team was terrible, but that sort of set a precedent where, again, I understand a season where a guy hits 50, 60 home runs on a losing team. If that's the case, that's still your MVP. Those are still baller numbers. But all things considered, I think when you're talking about a tight race, the other thing is voting goes right up through game 162.
Mm-hmm.
And so, exactly where your team is in the standings and your direct influence on where your team ends up in the standings should be held against you, or it should be rewarded in the voting.
In baseball's case, they'll just give him because of Shohei Ohtani. You know how baseball is. It's like the Mike Trout thing. We'll see what happens. I hope Aaron Judge. I mean, he's 4 of 24, so he has been on a cold streak, Judge. But he did hit his 31st last night. Yankees. I think the Yankees need to get to the All-Star break. Getting a little cold streak right now. I think they could use a break. They've been so good.
Talk about a big series though this weekend, huh?
Yeah, they play the Red Sox. If they lose,
you can't lose 2 out of 3 this weekend at home. I mean, but you cannot lose 2 out of 3. Lose the last 2. Could have got swept by the Reds, and then you're gonna. I mean, that would be. I tell you, Trev, that would be a big black spot. You talk about the Yankee season so far, stellar, but then there would be before the period there would be a but. There would be a but because you just lost Severino to the IL. The Yankees are on a thing, and you're like, well, don't worry, they'll come back in All-Star break. You hope that. That's all I would say.
Not for nothing, this is a perfect time for Domingo Germán to be back and ready to go. And he's looked pretty good in his rehab assignments. And I don't know if
Wise is back. That's nice.
I mean, again, and you're going to start to see that because you do have some guys in the pen that are out that are going to be coming back. So you are going to get some reinforcements. I wouldn't be shocked if the Yankees go out and get either Castillo. Frankie Montes is another guy with a terrible record who's got an outstanding ERA. Sketchy peasant. Aaron Judge, why not? San Francisco, here we come.
He's a California. Quick question before we sign off.
It's going to cost the Yankees a lot of money to keep
Of course
him.
it will. That's why, it all depends. You asked that tiny question. It all depends on what Judge is going to make. But we'll see how that goes. Quick question. Who wins on Monday night? Who wins the home run derby? Just give me a quick one. Ted?
Go ahead, Joe.
I'm going to throw my money on Big G. Back home in front of a crowd, hadn't done it in a few years.
Oh,
swinging a great bat, Giancarlo Stanton.
He's not in the home run derby. Do you know that?
Joe,
then I'm not watching it.
Seager's the eighth guy, Joe.
He was the 8th guy. Joe.
So it's
I thought
short.
Stanton
Nope, we
No
all thought it was
stand.
going to be.
Seager was the last guy that they added to the thing.
We were all hoping. Me,
So
What a
trust me,
downer.
I'm going
that's
with my
what we
boy
were
Shorbs.
saying.
I'm going with my boy Shorbs.
Because I'm going Soto. I think he's pissed because he lost last year.
So I mean Soto, yeah, I might want to go Soto too.
And he's
actually.
been
That's
hot lately. I think he's got like 6 home runs in the month of July already.
That's the guy. That
Is
is.
And
Pete
if you
Alonso in
remember-
this thing?
Yes, Alonso.
And I'm
is.
taking him. Doesn't he always win it?
So I mean, I'll root for a New York guy, but you got Schwartz versus Pujols. You got Acuna versus Alonso, which that's a great matchup. You got Julio Rodriguez versus Seager, and
He's
then you
so
have
confused. He's so confused now that
Pujols.
all the
Why
legends.
don't you
They
get
did-
Robbie Cano in it too, for crying out loud. Any other washed up players we want to just
they do it-
for old
it's like the,
time's
it's
sake?
like the legends thing. I
I'll
guess.
tell you,
Poppy.
Yeah, right. Bring
I'll
A
tell
right
you,
back.
watching Acuna go against Alonso, that should be fun. Interdivisional rival, that'll be fun. Pujols returns home. Oh, hey, listen. If you were smart, put your money on Pujols, bro. To at least beat Schwarber. That is where, hey, he's got one shot. He's going to go for it, like Rocky. And like Rocky 7. He just goes for it all.
Rocky
You
7.
never know.
Never
Dude,
know.
Schwarber is either going to set the record for most home runs or most swings and misses at a home run derby. You're going to get one or the other, Trav. You never know.
He lost
I
he lost the finals to Harper a couple years ago.
He's having a heck of a season this year. What's he
27
got? I think
home
he's got 28 home runs, Schwarber.
Second in the league right now.
Yeah,
He did it
man.
last year. Don't you remember last year? He was like
Yeah.
that too. He was on
Dude.
a rampage.
Again, he's a very similar player to Joey Gallo in that
he's a much better player than Joey Gallo.
now he is.
He can't
Now
feel
he
the ball,
is.
but he hits. I'll take the
I don't
hitting.
know over the last 3 or 4 years ago. To me, it was the same guy.
Joe, he ranked last year for Boston. That was a big loss for Boston. I thought.
Big time.
You
big
remember?
loss.
You remember when he hit a bomb off Cole in the wild card game? How can we forget? Right to the moon.
Corey Reynolds, go look at your twin
But so
brother.
what I mean to say is, look, I think Schwarber's sort of taking his game a level up.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what we're all kind of like, come on, Gallo, what are you doing?
What the hell is what is he doing?
Right? It's not like we know these guys are more than capable of making some adjustments and turning things around. In the case of Schwarber, he's having the best year of his life, and Joey Gallo's having the worst year of his life.
It's beautiful.
Right? And it's like, dude, look at Matt Carpenter. It doesn't take much to go work with somebody, listen to what they're saying, make those adjustments, come back and hit 308 with 9 home runs in like 45 games.
I got
possible.
I got a
Carpenter's
great
their second best hitter.
I got a great trade proposal. Just trade up Joey Gallo for Kyle Schwarber. Straight up. Let's do it. Make it happen, X. Let's make it happen. Well, we will be back. We will be back next week talking after the All-Star break. Baseball, we'll see how it happens. Trade's going to be happening. Also, we'll keep an eye on the NBA. Some big names that could be on the move we're going to be watching. And plus, we'll be talking more NFL because, ladies and gentlemen, we're only a few weeks away from training camp. So the boys of fall have returned. Ladies and gentlemen, we are streaming on all social media platforms. So check us out at Keys to the City. We are out.
You are now in tune to the Keys to the City podcast.